Hello, it's me again. This is part two. Um, Continuing where I left off. Um, you need a saw. You don't really need a saw. If you got a hatchet, you don't need a saw. It depends on the woods that you live in. If you live in woods that you're going to be chopping a lot of bigger trees, then an axe would be better than a saw. But it also depends on the size of the saw. What you want to carry in your survival bag, your bug out bag, and all that is really determined on how much you're willing to carry. Now, if you're trying to save weight, then you want to go with small, simple items that will do the job and be efficient at doing the job that they're required to do. If you don't care to carry a little extra weight, then, you can go with a little heavier things, more redundancy, like 2 knives, 3 knives, a hatchet, a saw, you could get really fancy with it. It's all depending on how much you want to carry. And also, you got to realize the more you carry in weight, the less distance you'll be able to go unless you're used to doing that. My biggest advice that I could give anybody that's going to do a bug out bag or anything like that, please take your bag out in the woods or in environments that you may be going through as close as possible between where you're going to go or what you're planning on doing with the bag, and stay there for a day or two. There's so many people, that have got a bag and they've had the bag together for several months and they don't even remember what's in the bag. If you can't even remember what's in your bag, how do you know that that bag has everything you need? And how do you know that you can use all the items? By taking the bag out and using the bag, you give yourself the ability of finding out what items that you need and what items you may not need. You may sit at your house, this item here, whatever it may be, may look like, hey, that's a good item, I need that item, I couldn't do without that item. You get out in the woods where you're actually using the bag, that item might not even have any use. You may not even use that piece in the woods at all, or in whatever situation you designed your bag for. Now if you're designing your bag for an urban situation, then you're going to need more different things to this for where you won't need in the woods. Yes, you might need a knife and everything, and some of the items will be the same, like fire and whatnot, water and all that other stuff. But in the city, a hatchet, yeah, you can use a hatchet in the city and do a lot of good things with it. But there's also, you might not need a hatchet. It just all depends on what you're planning on doing. Now, design your bag in the possibility that you might not be able to drive where you're going. And, this might be a situation that, you might get to drive so far, but then something happens to your vehicle and you don't get to go no further. Or, on YouTube there's people talking about solar flares and all that. Now, if something like that would happen, chances are your vehicle won't run. There's some debate if the points style system in an older style vehicle will still run or not, but nobody really knows. Nobody's really gone out and really tested it to see if it, because, how many solar flares have we had? The last one melted telegraph poles, back in the 1800s, I think. So if it can do that to telegraph wires and stuff, it's probably going to fry pretty much everything in your vehicle, if not burst the car into flames. It's very possible. So, have your bag set up that you can use it and carry it the distance that you have to go, and have it set up so you can be able to build shelters or whatnot on the way, because, chances are you ain't going to have a bunch of motels between here and where you're going. Most likely the place you pick to go to is a safe place, or a location to go to is most likely secluded, and it's not mainstream situation. You know, there probably ain't a lot of houses there. And if there are a lot of houses there, you know, the people that are there, they might be going through something at the same time, and they might not want you there. So you've got to think of these things. You've got to think of what you're going to do about food. Now, carrying some food, like freeze-dried foods and different things, in your bag is good. Have enough to sustain you for what you need to do, but don't go overboard. Don't be putting a year's supply of food in your bag because you won't be able to carry it. You know, so, you know, you got to be sensible. And don't think that just because you have like 10 feet of snare wire, you're going to catch a bunch of animals. Animals aren't attracted to your snares. You know, you might catch one or two over a week period, but, you know, you ain't going to be sustaining yourself for a long period of time that way. Another thing that's good for a bag, other than snare wire, is a fishing kit. And you don't need a big old 40-foot, 50 fishing pole and tackle box and all this other stuff. You know, there's a thing called hobo fishing. It's basically a can about yay long, like a soda can or something, and it's got the string wrapped around it, and you got the hooks and whatnot. Now, there's simple ways of taking PVC, putting caps on the ends and whatnot, and putting your string on there, and putting all your, my phone went off. I'll get to that in a second. But, you know, wrapping the string around it, you can put all your gear inside, like hooks, floaters, and all other stuff. Then all you got to do in the wild is find a worm. Look it on the hook, throw it in, reel it in. Throw it in, reel it in. It's really simple. You can look it up on YouTube. There's hobo fishing. It's probably 20,000 videos probably on there. I haven't really checked how many, you know. Now, another item that would be very useful is a slingshot. Now, slingshots are small. They're not very big. They don't take up much room. But they do pop a punch. You can take a good slingshot. You take a rock. That's an easier, you know, you get good with it, you can actually shoot it and hit it. That's another reason you need to go out and actually use your stuff. You take a slingshot, you can take a rabbit down. You can take a squirrel down. There's all sorts of animals that are small enough that you can shoot with a slingshot and give you food, meat, for you to live. Because, you know, survival in any sense is a calorie game. You want to put, because you're out there sweating, you're out there surviving, and you're sweating, surviving, your calories are going, you're moving, you're burning energy. And if you ain't got some way of putting that energy back in you, eventually you're going to run out of steam. And when you do, you're going to shut down. You got to keep yourself hydrated. You got to keep fluids in your body or you'll dehydrate, start getting hallucinations and losing your mind. And, you know, after you start losing your mind, it's just downhill from there. You know, you've got, the only way you will survive in any situation is you got to have this, not this. Because in most situations of any sort, money ain't going to get you out of it. You might have the fanciest gear and the best equipment that money can buy. If you don't know how to use it, it's just a paperweight. And another thing about fancy equipment, you know, if it falls in the water, it could go. You drop it somewhere and didn't know you dropped it, it's gone. Batteries could die. You know, technology is nice to have, but I wouldn't put it as my main survival situation. You know, and you never know, you know. I've always been taught to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So, in that situation, it's better to prepare for literal hell on earth and hope that it never comes to that. But if it does, or something close, I've got the gear that I need and the supplies that I need to see me through the times that I need to see through. So I'm not saying that you need to go out here and buy this or buy that or whatever. That's up to you. Do what makes you feel comfortable. Take your family out. Get them used to using the items that you will have in the bag with them. Most families have a bag per member. If your wife don't know how to shoot a gun and you think that guns will be useful and needed in the future, you need to teach her how to shoot one. Because you don't want to have her out here having to depend on something and not even know how to do it. Same situation with you. If you don't know how to do something or you've never done nothing, like if you've never skinned an animal in your entire life, you need to go out here and hunt something and learn to skin it. Go on YouTube, get videos, watch how they do it, learn from them, and then go out and practice it. Don't waste the meat. If you have the time to kill it, you have the time to eat it. Please, don't kill and not eat. If you're going to kill something, eat it. But use it. Go out and learn. Right now, YouTube and the internet and all this, and books and all that, is just overfilling with information that can help you get to a level that you will feel comfortable with what you are preparing for. If you go out in a survival situation and you do not know what you are doing, you don't know how to use your equipment, you don't know how long to boil water, the best thing to do when you boil water is not wait till it starts slightly bubbling. You got to make sure it gets all the way to the end where it's really bubbling. You know how when you're cooking pasta or something like that and it's really foaming up? That's about where you need to be. If nothing else, when it starts bubbling, wait 3 to 4 minutes. That's usually good enough to make sure that every pathogen inside is dead. If you don't, you risk catching bacterias and different things that can make you puke and diarrhea your head off, and then you just get more dehydrated, and then you die. Nature's not evil. Nature's not out to kill you. But nature also ain't going to let you just walk in and take over. Nature deserves some respect. She's been here a lot longer than we have, and she'll be here a long time after us. And once you go in the woods thinking that you own it, and you can just bop around and do whatever, and you ain't going to get no consequences, she'll put you in her spot. She will get you and show you who's boss. Be sensible. Don't do stupid stuff. If it seems to be too dangerous to do, probably don't do it. But another good thing in a survival situation is a compass. Even if you really don't know how to read a compass, please go out and try to learn how to read a compass and read a map. But if you don't, at least in like a thick forest situation, you at least have a generic direction, a basic direction that you can look at the compass and know if you're going straight or not. So a lot of times in the woods, you start to walk one way, you think you're going straight and end up going in circles because every tree almost looks alike. So I guess that's all I have to say. I'll get back to y'all with some more videos. Please subscribe, leave comments. Please be constructive. Being an ass don't really do anybody no good. Thank you, and God bless.